Toby, are you a flat earther? Toby, hello.
Tobias. What's up, man?
Toby.
Hey, David.
So you have
Oh.
no evidence. They have no evidence for flat Earth. Nothing.
Brenda, wait. Toby, are you a flat earther?
Yeah, I'm a flat earther.
Oh, okay, awesome. You stayed.
Oh, you're.
Yeah.
You stayed then.
Actually, Brenda's part of why I'm a flat earther. She was they were one of the people that were representing the globe when I was trying to dive into this topic, and I didn't really ever hear any.
That's bad reason to believe.
Well, I just never got much substance. Whenever I tried to get substance from you guys, because I know you're still on that side of things.
That's still a bad
I
reason.
mean, I'm here.
Oh my
so
God.
If you want to have the
You should
question,
go
but
by.
don't
You
give an
should go
answer.
by the evidence and the arguments.
How are
Well,
y'all not-
I'm referring to the evidence, the lack of evidence that was presented.
There's plenty of evidence for globe. There's no evidence for the flat Earth. Where's the
How-
evidence for flat Earth?
How could we have let this happen?
Like I'm
Say
not.
Tribune.
I tried to actively prevent it.
How come when
Say
Brenda
Tribune.
gets brought on, I get brought on? Like I don't want to be.
Say,
I don't
Oh,
wanna-
I'd like to ask Tribune if he would unblock me from your chat. I'm a member, a paid member of your channel, and you have me blocked in chat.
What do you
Why
mean?
is that?
I actually didn't block you, so
Well,
as
could
long
you
as you're-
unblock me?
as long as you're not harassing people, then yes, you can be unblocked.
I just say the truth. I'm a true earther. I just say the truth.
What do you mean?
And the truth is the Earth is flat.
Yeah, and you try to
Yeah,
get servers
if
shut
membership-
down.
No, I don't.
I mean, I've seen you do it. So, anyways, let's
You've
not
never seen
get
me
into that.
do what?
This is derailing.
This
Yeah.
is all.
Is there any evidence?
Maybe we should just put Brenda back in the crowd and we'll go back on with Sir Aardvark.
I
Maybe
mean,
we'll...
if you
Shane,
guys
do you
aren't-
have-
if you guys
Shane,
aren't
do you
gonna
have any
later,
evidence?
Brenda, having
Dumpster
Brenda,
fire.
sure.
Do you have any evidence, Shane?
We've done nothing.
Anything at all?
We've done nothing but
Any-
dismantle the globe in this stream. I don't know where you've
I mean,
been.
well, that's only because you have you dogpile on one single glober, and then you refuse to allow other people up. Right? You don't debate in good faith. If you want to debate, I'll debate you on a neutral platform. But you have no evidence for your globe Earth, and you're not capable of
Is Brenda
dismantling
done
the
speaking
globe.
yet, guys?
And you're not capable of dismantling the arguments for the globe Earth.
The illusion.
You're only
is so
able
strong.
to. You're only.
Okay, come on. This is
Alright, yeah.
fucking
There we
boring.
go.
Yeah.
This
I
is
If
was
you guys
just
aren't
about
gonna
to
answer,
do
there's
that.
no point.
Holy shit.
There's
We
no
tried
point
to-
having 2 minutes.
It's like
it
a
would be
fun...
different. It'd be different if there was actually like an argument put forward,
Yeah.
other than just
It's
like.
just you have no
Alright,
evidence.
Aardvark,
That's so hella retarded.
yeah,
Okay,
sorry there,
anyone
Hans.
wanna...
Bob is
Yeah.
back up. I don't know if
Aardvark,
he had wanted to ask a
Aardvark
question.
wanted to show a presentation, so if you feel free to
Yeah,
show it
okay.
now if you want.
Yeah,
Aardvark was,
perfectly
Aardvark
free.
was doing some
Don't
really
mind
good
because I'm
stuff.
showing my home screen, so it's gonna have a bunch of stuff on it. But my phone. So I don't actually know if I can use a present. I can't. Well, this is the presentation. I'll just go through it. So this has to do with the direction in which stars rotate, and I think you guys have an explanation for it, but I just wanted to address this because I think even your explanation of it isn't perfect. So Earth spins kind of like a wheel on an axle. It spins depending on which direction you're looking at it. If you're looking at it from the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere, in this instance for a wheel, it's the left face or the right face. It rotates clockwise or counterclockwise, which is like rotational, so it doesn't change depending on which way you look at it. It's always counterclockwise or clockwise. It's just which point or like which end of the axis you're looking at it from. And
Worst point of view?
the slideshow has a better description of this, but it's the same way. So either like viewing this thing, if the wheel is spinning, it's not because the presentation won't work on here, but if the wheel was spinning, it's either the wheel is spinning clockwise or everything around it is spinning counterclockwise. And because of that, it means if you're standing on the wheel, it's like just attaching a camera to a wheel, you'll go everything around you will spin in the opposite direction that the wheel is spinning, which on a globe, this actually explains perfectly how stars work. Because in the northern hemisphere, stars rotate around a single point counterclockwise, and in the southern hemisphere, they rotate around a single point clockwise. And that explains it because, again, Earth spins like a wheel. it is rotating in one direction, and depending on which way you're looking at it, like which direction you're looking out from it, the stars will rotate in a different direction. And this, again, there's a perfect there's a perfect explanation on the globe, but on a flat Earth, the presentation explains it better. South doesn't really mean anything on the flat Earth. South, there's like an infinite number of souths. It's just it's 180-degree turn from wherever you are facing north. So north, you look up and like if you're directly in the center with the North Pole and you look up, it's going counterclockwise. But then everyone on the south, in the infinite number of directions they are, or I guess close to infinite, it's 360 degrees of directions, they all see these stars spinning clockwise, yet they're all facing in completely different directions. And you don't even have to, like, you can have these two people at the same night doing this exact same thing. They're looking in completely different directions, and they're seeing the same thing, which doesn't make sense on a flat Earth because they're looking in two different directions. But it makes sense on a globe because they're all looking at the same point. It's just that the point is directly below, or it's directly aligned with the axis of rotation of the Earth. And these are the two. These are two gets. So.
Do you want to take these one at a time, or do you want to crank all out your thing, and then we'll take it?
Well, yeah. This was that was the presentation. So that was just kind of the whole thing. It's just stars rotate in different directions depending on the hemisphere, which doesn't make sense on a flat Earth. At least, not any explanation I could think of.
Guys.
Dan, you want to take that one, and then we'll close on coordinate system transformations and geocentric models and heliocentric models derived from that.
Yeah, perfect.
Heliocentric, is that the sun?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the sun at the center. That's the model, right? Heliocentric versus geocentric, Earth at the center. And actually, all the heliocentric projections use something called the Earth center, Earth fixed coordinate system anyway, and before they translate it to the heliocentric. But Alan will tell you all about that in a minute.
No.
Helio for helium.
Helio is from the Greek god Helios, which was the god of the sun. But...
Yeah, well, I'm just making the connection. I know.
Yeah.
It's like Mars and Mars bars. You know,
yeah.
Mars bars aren't named after the god of war.
Did someone want to address this?
Shane. If you stop presenting, Shane can present.
Yeah, I was gonna share.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say we should probably just pack it up, right?
You're good. Great presentation though, and excellent questions, by the way.
Yeah, I wish it worked because it actually looks semi-decent when it actually presents, but it's whatever.
Yeah, that's one of the tougher questions actually that we do have answers for. But as like a 101 coming up to ask some questions, I think you did pretty well, dude. So here's just like a representation that I threw together that shows the Bislin model. But here, it's the integral part of overlaying the stellarium viewing mode, which just puts, the celestial sky around the observer. And even on flat Earth, you can only see about half of the celestial sky wherever you are. The curved visual limit of your space is represented by this little azimuthal grid in the observation. And on flat Earth, under Polaris, if it's at your zenith, all the stars will circle around you. If you move halfway to the equator, Polaris dips to about 45 degrees, as it's showing here. And everywhere on flat Earth, elevation angle for Polaris will equal your latitude. So the further you go, the more it dips until you get to the equator, where it dips about right at your horizon. So it's almost at 90 degrees. And then you start to see this other rotation point, which is only an optical convergence point created by human perspective. It's the nighttime version of the daytime sky that you see. And the curved visual limit of the way you see forces it to put it in a convergence point that a time-lapse photography will reveal actually rotates all the way around. And this is another example of how actually the clockwise counterclockwise motion works. As you can see on the other side over here, looking conversely to the other direction, the user or the observer-based azimuthal grid is going counterclockwise or counter to the clockwise motion. It's a little bit tough to tell from the back, but it is going in the opposing direction as the actual stars. And that's only a matter of perspective when you're in the south, looking south. Here's the stellarium viewing mode I was just outlining because it's the same viewing method that Walter Bislin uses on his model. He just shrunk it down and made it disproportionately smaller. If he had made his model about half the size of the celestial sphere, then it would accurately be a manipulatable stellarium model, because stellarium here is also utilizing the observer-based azimuthal grid. And then I blended it together. What?
Well, I was gonna ask.
Is the universe spinning?
The universe, the sky, right? The sky could be rotated. The static stars rotate about 15 degrees per hour above our head, east to west for every observer, and you only see them rotating a different direction because of human perspective in the south while looking south. But the sun actually does a little bit quicker, so you get the difference between sidereal rotation and solar rotation. Sidereal just means having to do with placement in the stars, and the solar just meaning the sun. So it's about like 4 to 6 minutes faster if you go by the sun. But the sidereal rotation is just to do with when the stars will be back up, right? So it's a sidereal cycle. So the main counter.
I just wanted to ask something really quickly. Are you saying that there is an actual physical sphere around somewhere where the stars spin, or is that just like what they would see? Is that just what they're showing? It's like what they would see.
Yes, it's a depiction. It's a visual depiction of a limit of visual space. So
it's how vision has to work. Sorry, go ahead.
It's all good, man. If you're in the middle, the only thing the grid is representing is the limit of that person's visual space. And as you move it and manipulate it around, that just denotes how much more space you can see. Like the amount never changes. It only changes when you move the observer. But yeah, it's not a physical thing. It's just a pictorial representation of a limit of curved visual space around any observer.
Okay. I have to.
Same limit that's hilarious.
Your explanation. It's a little bit confusing. I don't know if it's just the way you explained it. Number one, why are you not able to see? So you had said that when you're on the South Pole, or close to the South Pole, as close as you can possibly get without going to Antarctica, because you can't see Polaris when you're I think it's a single latitude line south of the equator. So, because of the location of where Polaris is on either your sphere or just in the universe in the heliocentric model, you can't see it from where you are. Like anywhere south of the equator, you can't see the mountain Polaris.
Can I counter with another question of, do you have a verifiable picture taken from somebody that has the South Pole star at zenith?
Like directly above them?
Yes.
I don't have someone where they have it directly above them because it's the center of Antarctica, which is very cold. But either way, you don't need to be in the center of Antarctica necessarily. You just need to be as close to it as you can possibly get. I believe the GIF that I had in the presentation, I can't remember. I think it says it in the GIF, but it is. Let me check what it says. I believe this is taken on the tip of South America, and you can see a full circle around what is called the Southern Cross. So you can see like a full circle rotating around a single point.
Well, admittedly, you don't see that.
It's not just.
You don't see it all in one night, right? Because the star rotations obviously don't make a full circle in one night.
Well, no, you don't see a full 360-degree rotation, but you see a decent amount. I don't know the exact degrees, but you still see it going in a circle. Like you can physically see all the stars moving circularly.
So there's definitely like a south optical celestial pole. It's just not a physical convergence point at the bottom of a longitudinal convergence in a space ball. It's an optical convergence here. Like I'll share it. I'll show the actual model here, so we can manipulate it.
Because it just the little ball doesn't necessarily make sense to me in terms of the how optics just work.
Well, yeah, there's a whole explanation as to how you get a convergence point like this, and it involves the sunlight and anti-corpuscular rays. You have, corpuscular rays converging from the source of the sun, which in your world are parallel but only appear to be corpuscular due to perspective. And you have anti-corpuscular rays at the other end of the horizon, the opposite horizon where the sun is not, also converge on a point that is not the sun. And what you're getting at the nighttime is the nighttime version of that optical convergence that you see manifest in the nighttime time lapse around an optical convergence point. So if we move this observer into the south, the area of question here, right, and we see this red point is supposed to indicate the optical southern pole. So from here, you're too far away from Polaris to see the center of all rotation. So your limit of human perspective puts this other convergence point at the opposing end, going in the opposite direction around something that isn't there. And if you move it around, it goes with the observer. Literally all around this outer edge is how this person, anyone here, would see an optical south pole from the star rotation. Again, you can't see any time lapse. You can't see time lapse with the naked eye. You can't actually see them rotate around this. You would see them move east to west like this all day, every day. You know, for time lapse is a photographic effect, but
Well, so yeah, well, a time lapse is just a bunch of photos all compiled together, but just sped up. But either way, so my question, well, first of all, like quickly, I just want to answer this. Are the actual like in this model, are the stars actually on like a sphere around the flat Earth, or are they on this dome and they're rotating like a compass, where it's like they're rotating around the axis, which is just the North Pole on your model?
yes, they're all in the sky around the observer like this. So all the stars for everyone.
It's like a dome. It's like a dome, right?
Well, it could be. I just put it in a disk and it doesn't affect how anything works. So it could be a flat disk rotating around east to west. Like this is how I envision them. You can put it down in an optically, it makes no difference. But yeah, this is what they're doing for everyone.
Yeah, and the doming effect is just an optical effect. It's due to the fact that we see in hyperbolic geometry, not Euclidean space.
And like, there's no way around that. Even if you're on a globe, you actually start to have geometric problems when you put us on a globe because of the way that we perceive in a dome. If you put yourself on an infinite plane and you're 1 point observing outwards in a sphere, you're going to perceive outwards in a sphere around you. And because of perspective, because of the way that things shrink the further that they go away, you are just simply going to perceive your world in a spherical geometry. That's just the way that vision works. And it does, and then it's even accentuated by the fact that we have convex lenses on our eyeballs, and also all lenses in general are usually convex. So like all of our perception of the world that we measure is done in a, from the point of view of non-Euclidean or of Euclidean geometry, so that we see, it's all based on how we measure from our eyes or from optics. It's not based on what's actually there.
So I kind of understand that. I was just going to ask, because on your thing, or if it's displayed as a disk, like the southern point, you said it's an optical illusion, but the stars, like the stars around it, you see every star on this outer circumference all are circling around a small point. So is it like are the stars from what would be behind me, are they literally just wrapping around due to vision? Is there such an extreme effect on your vision that you can see literally stars that are behind you in this instance?
There's no stars being visible behind you. That's crazy. Like this is
but so you can see, so like we know what stars circle what we consider the Southern Cross. Like we know what stars we are. We see them every night when you look up there.
I'm not saying that there aren't stars there. There's clearly stars there. The only thing that
what I was gonna say is just there is named stars there, and they are all around a single point, and everyone around it sees the exact same stars. They just see it from a different perspective. It's like looking at a different side of the sphere. So so that would mean that you're seeing stars that are on. It's hard to convey without a model because it's confusing in words, but because on your thing, the southern point isn't a point. It's like a bunch of points in a sphere, but it visually converges to a point, which means all of that has to fold into a point visually. So how does that make sense?
No, it has an optical convergence point. So it's a point around which things appear to rotate. And there is no actual southern pole star. The closest you have is Sigma Octantis, which is so dimmed as to not be photographable. So let's just say that there is no actual physical star there. And then we can say that the convergence, which again is different for every observer, as you alluded to, but as you go further south, it just changes the elevation of the observation. So as this guy goes further south, it goes higher. As he goes, further north, it goes lower until you're back to right about the equator. Now, in your presentation, dude, you said that. Actually, hold on. Let's do this. So you said that let's just envision these stars, right? These outer rim stars are the southern stars. going all the way around like this. And what you're actually seeing in the south is them go rising in the east, going over your person, setting in the west, right? So as the time progresses, those pink stars, let's say those are the outer stars, that you could put the Southern Cross right there, and that would be going around the southern pole as to exactly as you're describing it. And all they are is swinging in giant loops around the observer all the way around the outer edge, and the limit of human perspective on this scale causes them to appear, set, rise, go to your zenith, and then set to the right over here as they just continue to go over you.
So yeah, I understand kind of how you're explaining that, but what I'm saying is, so like let's say in this the thing that you've presented right now, that star that if the person is looking, if the observer here is looking directly south, and they're looking up and they're seeing the Southern Cross and they're seeing these stars rotate around it, they're not just seeing the stars that are like physically on that edge of the disk there. They're seeing the stars that are on the other edge of that disk, and they're seeing the closer that these stars are to the edge of your disk here, the closer they are to the center point on what our observed center point is. And again, on a globe, this is pretty easily explained. It's just there actually is there's quote unquote a physical center point. It's a single point that the Earth that aligns with the Earth's axis. But on a flat plane, all of these southern stars, they're all the way around, and you're seeing all of these stars at once.
Right.
Which means you are seeing stars behind you.
Well, no, it's not. It's not at all correct. I forgot that you had like the usual misunderstanding of south, right? You said that they're looking in different directions, but if cardinal directions are what we could judge directionality by, and then they are in fact looking south, which is away from north, how can anyone say they're looking in different directions when they're all looking south? So here's a video that I put together a while back on the Southern Cross observation, specifically at a very specific UTC in the west coast of Australia, in Africa, and in South America, and it's at the same time. And I whipped it around to show exactly at the same UTC how that observation can be visible for all observers. Here, hold on one sec, because I know you bought that.
I don't disagree that it's visible from all people. I'm asking, how does this one person see stars that are all the way around this edge of the disk? Because again, they're not just seeing the stars that are like physically in front of them on this disk. They're seeing the stars that are also physically behind them, and they are seeing those stars. Like you can pick out a star and you can point to it in the night sky that should be behind them.
No, that's absolutely incorrect.
I mean, it isn't. Like I can the gift that I have, their stars are physically circling around a point, or they appear to be circling around a point. Their stars that are closest to that point on your model here are all the way around the edge. They're spread out all the way around the edge of this disk. But you're seeing all of them at once, so you are actually seeing stars behind you.
No, yeah, that's a crazy misinterpretation. I'm not quite sure even how you're asking it, because it can't be as dumb as what you're saying to me, right? So I must be misunderstanding what you're saying with stars behind you.
I think you must be, because again, this like I have a GIF that is a time lapse of someone looking south from their perspective. I know on a flat Earth, south is a bunch of different directions, or it's all one direction relative to north, but they're all physically different directions. Like they're not all looking at the same point, but they're the point that they're looking at. There are stars physically or they appear to be physically circling around a point. And these stars that are closest to this point, like they're rotating the least, you could say, like on a sphere. I'm just going to use a sphere because it appears to be a sphere even in your model. The points closer to the point of rotation rotate less because they're closer. They don't have to travel as far around it. These stars that are closest to the point on your thing, they're all the way around it. They're not this close. They're not like we visually see them really close, but on your model, they're the farthest away they could possibly be. Unless the sky in your model is just not accurate.
Yeah, I'm still not quite sure what you're asking, dude. Like, you're not seeing any stars.
I wish I had a physical thing that I could point to here. I'm trying to think of a way I could do this.
It's all right. I mean, like, so the stars is definitely a sticking point for most people. We could argue it more if you want to, but we could probably go on to something else if anyone has any questions.
Oh, I do. Can I ask
I mean,
you?
yeah, we can move on. This is just one point that I've never heard. Like, I knew that I've heard of the personal dome before. I've heard of people thinking it's like an actual dome around you, which I think is absurd, and I don't think you guys would believe that. And you've shown me your explanation, which I understand how you came to that explanation, but I'm also just trying to point out that it doesn't really make sense with how vision works. Like, I really wish I could show it, because the way you're showing it, you're literally seeing stars that should be physically behind you in your model,
Dude,
which
I'm happy to,
you agree makes no sense. So I'm just trying to. I wish I could physically show it, because it would make it so much easier. But
Like you
we
can't-
have like entire streams on this, like 3 hour, 2 hour explanations to go into it in depth, show all the stuff. Like, you're more than welcome to like come over here.
I've
Yeah,
seen a
I'd
couple
love
of
to. It's just
satisfactory. I've seen a couple of satisfactory explanations for me, but like for me, it's not a sticking point. I don't think sphericity in the sky means that we're on a globe. But in any case, like I've seen a couple of pretty like good explanations. One being, to me, the most convincing is certain atmospheric refraction indexes can actually make those exact effects occur.
I guess it could.
Or
You
any,
just be-
or just there's like there's a multiplicity of possible explanations, because we can't go verify what's in the sky, or what's at the edge.
I mean, you could go to the tip of South America and look at this, but either way, I kind of understand.
Yeah,
what
I
you mean
didn't
by
say
refraction- by
I'm not
refraction.
disputing that by any means.
Yeah. But like the idea about refraction, it's just you would need such strong refraction that's not even possible in like liquid water. You would
How are
need
you gonna
Sir,
wait? But how are you gonna say it's
densest-
not possible when you don't even know what's out there?
because
You don't even know
Well-
what the actual medium is.
hold on, we're still also
Well, yeah, but
misrepresenting.
there's no medium that could do that
We're
just
still-
by being like a solid translucent medium. But yeah, sorry.
It's
continue
really
with,
it's really
further.
pointless, because, and this is what Shane was trying to point out, it's like you're, whether intentionally or unintentionally, you're misrepresenting the model, and you can prove that with a very simple question: is it the exact same time in South America as it is in Australia?
It doesn't really have to be. If they're both looking at the night sky, they're both seeing the same stars
hold
from a
on.
different direction.
I have a
Is it
question.
doesn't the night it doesn't time have something to do with the night?
It does, which is what I just said. If you can still have two people looking what are physically different directions, like south is a bunch of different directions on your model. So any two people who are any distance apart, like it doesn't have to be across an entire continent. It could be one edge of, or one point on the edge of South Africa to another point on the edge of South Africa. They're still far enough apart where they should be looking in completely different directions physically, and they're seeing the same thing. And this is what Shane was trying to explain. And if his model worked, it would completely explain this. What I'm saying is it just visually, that's not how our vision works. At
No,
least
I mean,
the
maybe
way
if you-
I understand what he's
Sir.
explaining, it doesn't make sense for the way our vision
It's still a
works.
misrepresentation, because again, maybe if you assume that those stars are like right on the edge of the so-called flat Earth, and then they have to look at a very exaggerated angle of those stars, sure, but I mean, we can assume that those stars are a decent ways out, right? Why are we assuming that they have to be looking in completely different ways? And also, how do you know which way they're exactly looking? Have you taken into account the magnetic declination for each of the locations? It actually very much matters the location, how far the observers are, for you to just hand wave all this stuff away and then still claim it a valid observation for us to have to refute is ridiculous.
So you do know what magnetic declination is, and it doesn't solve your problem here.
Let's get specific with it. What two observations, what 2 points would you like us to explain? What do you think is
Okay,
impossible
I'll
on the
pull
board?
up 2 points that are close or physically they're physically a distance apart. We're on a disk.
Make sure
they
you're-
would be looking in different physical directions.
Make sure you're prepared to show people actually with that observation, like you have the observer looking that direction with the compass, due south this many degrees. We've taken into account the magnetic declination here, and then you have another observer at that same time looking at the sky to show that they are indeed looking at the same due south direction, or are they indeed looking in different areas? You haven't verified even the first part of this observation, and you want us to refute it.
That's what I'm saying and what I'm talking about right now. You can have, like, as you've shown, south is not one physical direction on your thing. It has a relative direction, which is just 180 degrees from north, but it doesn't have a solid direction where it's like I'm stumbling over my words right now, but it's not one physical direction. Like if I point my finger in one direction, someone looking south on the other edge of the earth here, they're pointing their finger
You
in a
don't.
physically different direction. Yet
Please,
they're both
please
pointing
stop for a
south, which
second.
is what I
Please
was
stop.
saying.
You're
Physically
re-explaining the
different.
same point that you've already explained 4 times now. You're not actually
We-
dealing with the first step of it, which is verifying the observation. Verify the observation. We get the idea of what you're talking about. Verify it with something in the real world, and then we can talk about it.
Other
Well,
than
yeah,
just the same
that's-
magnetic pole.
Well, that's just kind of what I'm saying. It's just the explanation he has, as the way he's explaining it or the way I'm understanding it, doesn't make sense with how our vision works. But all I'm saying is just
What do you mean?
It's two people
How
looking.
does it not make sense with how our vision works? Like, well, never mind. I actually do know what you're talking about. That you're referring to the return trails going on the bottom side of the radial rotation at the south side, right?
Yeah, it's just like you see. What I'm saying is like you're seeing stars that are behind you. That's how I'm seeing it. I wish I could have a physical model to show why I'm thinking that, because you're saying that's not true. So, but
Well,
I don't know.
we also said at the start that this is all from an Earth-centered, Earth-stationary, Earth-focused coordinate system that Alan was going to relate for us at the end if we want. Alan, you still there?
Yo, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to close on that with star observations and all that, or whatever.
Yeah, we can do it. This was just the one point that I hadn't heard a solid answer. So I was wondering if you guys could
just
provide
close.
one.
Just close on this point, and we can call it a day.
All
if it's
right, share
possible.
screen
That's good.
should be good there.
I have a
Let's
question.
see.
We'll hang out for a little bit afterwards for questions if you guys want. If you guys are
Yeah.
creative.
All right. So the information that I'm about to give comes from this book called The Explanatory Supplement to the Astronomical Ephemeris and American Ephemeris and Nautical Almanac. So basically what was going on was people were asking, hey, all these spherical trigonometry coordinate system corrections and stuff that you guys have in here, how did you guys derive all this? Because, you know, as you guys are probably familiar with, when you're sailing, even when you're doing planar sailing, the map you're using is a quote unquote globe projection. So people were wondering, hey, how did you come up with these correction angles so that, you know, we can do this sailing and have all this have all these corrections, you know, delivered to us so that we can do planar sailing and all that, right? So anyway, this is how they came up with. This is the explanation that they came up with. They put out this book. So this is the heliocentric coordinate system that you'll see. This describes the XYZ axis of the coordinate system. This is several ways in which they'll refer to it. And this is the geocentric coordinate system here, represented by this. Now, in the book, they'll kind of hint at that the geocentric coordinate system is derived from the heliocentric, but that's not the case because the heliocentric celestial sphere perspective and all that in distance is derived from the geocentric position here. They kind of just reverse engineer the distance. So the 3959, they just take that and establish a 3959 celestial sphere with your position around it on a geocentric model, and they just establish that as the distance to everything. So continuing on here, you'll see the different representations of the geocentric coordinate system as it transforms into the heliocentric coordinate system. And then, so in particular here for the transformation equations that they're going to be using to get the 2D rectangular geocentric coordinate system that they use, which is established by measurements of the sun specifically, and I think in the northern hemisphere specifically, to get started with the base of the coordinate system. But anyway, so E here we have the ellipticity and we have the flattening. So either one of these variables that they add to the equations on the conversions, or I'm sorry, for the transformations, what they can do is they can make planar observations, because when they refer to the geocentric geodetic latitude stuff, those are observations taken raw and like as if assuming a quote unquote fundamental plane, which we'll learn about here in a minute. And then the elevation angle to the star. And then they have this, basically what this is the corrections necessary to do a complete transformation of this geocentric system and correction angles to a spherical latitude longitude system, and what elevations you would need. So they, how they say the Earth's an oblate spheroid and it is spheroid, ellipsoid, and all these different things. Well, what they're alluding to here is the leniency that's required to make the mathematical corrections to, per se, make a larger planar disk fit into a smaller globular model. This is the exact one-to-one transformation of what would need to happen once you establish your planar system, just using elevation angles away from Polaris and all that. So once you have that system established, you can come up with your spherical system, because it's, like I said, it's derived, the perspective that they describe in it is derived from the geocentric system. So here we go, moving on. We've got your XYZ coordinate system. This is where they're showing the conversion. And so to show you guys what a transformation looks like real quick, the new coordinate system will be equal to the old coordinate system plus the corrections to the coordinate system that are described here. So this is what this looks like when you're transforming a coordinate system. So what they're trying to show you here is that the geocentric coordinate system is being derived from the heliocentric coordinate system. But if we remember back, the heliocentric coordinate system is derived, well, I'll show you what this means in a second. So it's derived from this stuff from the geocentric coordinate system, which is the 3959 miles elevation angle stuff to Polaris, right? So that's what they're referring to. So when they get away from that, they go into, where were we at? I got lost. Where was I at, Shane? Got a little off track here.
Oh, sorry, my whole PC froze, and I had to dodge and come back and fix my stream. So I'm still fixing. Is that
You're
it?
good.
You
You're
were just
good.
I'm sure it was awesome. I know the whole presentation.
Yeah, it's close to being done. So anyway, to give you a visual representation of what they talk about in this book with it was how they derive it. I'll show that in a second. It's at the end. So the this is to give you a
losing them. We're losing them.
representation of the
I think you're breaking up. I
Oh,
can't tell
sorry.
if it's him or me.
Yeah, it might be me.
It is him.
Am I okay now?
You're good.
You
Continue.
sound okay. It was definitely you, because I heard it too. So
Oh, okay. Am I okay now, though?
it sounds like
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. So anyway, the geocentric coordinate system is derived, assuming a close celestial sphere, like these
He's still cutting out.
distances of 93 million miles and all that shit, completely irrelevant. They assume it's close and on the same plane. Same with the stars and all that. None of the distances matter, and the stuff that you measure from parallax could all be derived the same thing, assuming a stationary plane. If you just wait 6 months to take your secondary measurement, and you assume that the distance of the sun is 93 million miles and that you're moving around it, the second measurement that you take of the next position that the stars will be 6 months later, you could extrapolate, quote unquote distances and parallax measurements from all that, but they wouldn't be physically meaningful unless you could prove Earth motion, which gets into a whole nother slew of things. But to stay on point with the coordinate system thing, we'll wrap up here. So on the right here is a representation of the geocentric coordinate system, the 2D rectangular system that they refer to in the book. So all of this is what they used, just taking measurements of the sky. And then when they derive it back for the heliocentric, remember when they were talking about P and it's all derived from the geocentric stuff. This is what the transformation results into, the heliocentric. So the idea that, number one, if the big takeaway here is that if you believe in heliocentrism, you also believe in geocentrism inherently, because the math required to produce the heliocentric system is explicitly derived from the geocentric system and planar measurements on a quote unquote fundamental plane. So that's I think that's pretty much it before it gets like real circular with it. Let me see if there's any.
I have one thing to add to
You go ahead.
I have a question.
before you ask your question, just to add on to the observations of the coordinate systems. One thing that actually, using the stars, you can debunk the globe pretty hard, in my opinion. This is something that was brought to my attention from Brian Leakes. And basically, what it is if you go into, well, first off, let's hypothetically assume the globe. Let's assume the solar system model, right? Let's assume that we're going around the sun. Obviously, we have our sidereal day, and what happens is we make our way gradually throughout the year to the other side of the sun. All the globers in here should be able to agree with that. Obviously, if our day and night cycle is determined by us rotating around the sun, then whatever side the sun is blocking, that side of stars should be blocked out with light pollution, meaning we shouldn't see it. And that should change throughout the year. Orion is a constellation that is a equatorial constellation, meaning it's out from the equator, and it can be seen, according to Stellarium, all year long. This would be impossible on the globe if we are moving around the sun, if we are in a different position relative to the sun as we go throughout the year. There would be a point throughout the year that the sun, that it wouldn't be nighttime during Orion being out, basically.
Can I ask the question? No.
Welcome to Flat Earth. Go right ahead.
Yes,
guys,
sure, brother,
just before you ask the question, guys. So I actually have to go now, guys. So I just want to say thank you, by the way, for coming into PDTV, by the way. So yeah, so
Yeah, man. Thanks for having
you
us.
guys. Yeah,
It's been great. Yeah,
yeah.
appreciate
So
the help.
Fridge will be taking over now. Fridge and Yostif will be taking over now. If you guys, yeah. So thank you guys. Yes,
Okay.
and Bobby,
Sounds
ask the question now. If you're free, whoever asked the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do planes work?
Airplanes fly over the Earth plane.
By
Okay,
assuming
so
a
yeah,
stationary, non-rotating Earth, obviously. That's how planes work.
a flight from let me see what the flight was again. So yeah, so a flight from San Diego to Sydney, you go over this Pacific Ocean. But the flat Earth model that I'm looking at, it's it would be way better
Full
and
circle.
less expensive if it just went straight across.
This is what we started with.
This is what you did start with? Oh, okay. Well, so then this should be interesting. You guys already explained it earlier, right?
Yeah, easiest
I
one,
assume.
easiest thing to say. The observation that you're talking about hasn't even been verified 100%. If it has, then produce the verification. We actually had a guy take, well, not us, but there was a Glober that was trying to debunk us, take a flight. I believe it was from Sydney to Santiago, and he had his compass out, and the compass just so happened to error in a way that showed the flat Earth coordinates, what you would expect to see on the flat Earth projection, perfectly, and it did not match the globe. The Globers freaked out and then had to say that, well, it had to be because the metal in the plane was throwing off the magnet, and it just so happened to be the exact way that we would expect to see that look in the flat Earth projection. So, as far as like attempting to verify
he
the
went
flight,
over America.
as far as as attempting to verify the flight, the compass showed what you would expect to see during a flat Earth. And as far as like plane travel goes, a lot of the time when you're in a plane, I've been in planes a lot of times. There's a lot of cloud coverage, not always, but a lot of the time. And so, how would you even
Yeah,
know?
but
How would you even really
I've
know?
been
Right?
on planes, and a lot of times the skies are pretty clear. But if I'm gonna be, but there has been plenty of people who've taken that trip. And I'm
Provide
pretty
you with
sure if you
one.
ask a lot of them, they could verify that they did not go, in fact, over
Or
land, but the Pacific Ocean.
you're being very vague. Just provide one person who verified the flight, then we can talk about it.
Provide one person.
Yeah, just one person who documented, verified the flight. Like you would want a documentation verification of any of the things that the flat Earth promotes. You know, like our laser experiments, mirror flashes, long distance photography, any of that stuff.
Okay.
And then no
Tribune,
refutation.
All right.
Sorry,
Paul
ask you-
White Jr. He took the flight and said, in fact, I did not see any American lands or anything. In fact, all I saw was the deep blue ocean.
This is like a crazy hearsay nonsense, fucking non sequitur circular reasoning. Back to where we started argument. Do you have
Yeah,
like
I'm
something else?
just
I mean,
Did they film
confused
you
it?
guys
on how it could work.
you
It
guys
makes no fucking sense
Earth round. Did they
at
film
all.
it with themselves using a compass? Because the one guy who did got the flat Earth results
Why would you use a compass?
to show your direction moving relative to the Earth and the magnetic field. To show that.
What
to
does the
show which-
magnetic field have to do with this? I mean,
the
I'm
direction?
looking from the perspective of, do you see
Tell-
ocean or do you see like land in America? Because if we're
Who's
going,
staying up for an
like, if we're
8-hour
looking at it for a company
Who's
perspective,
staying up for
they
an
would want
8-hour
to be
flight?
like, they would
Who stayed up for
want
the
to.
8-hour flight, looking at the ground the whole time, filming it to show us that there's definitely what you're talking about happening? I'm just
Probably
saying,
someone. And to be honest with you, I'm just kind of confused because why would
if we said
an
Earth,
air company waste all
before
that
you go on,
money
hold on,
going
no, don't
from
go on. We're not going to let you skate past this. If we had said, I'm sure somebody measured the flatness of the Earth, there's no way we would even be having a conversation, bro. Come on.
Okay, well, I have a quick question. So then, how would somebody, how could you say that, like, how could a airplane company or whoever, or not a, whatever the fuck, why would they waste all that money to go over the Pacific Ocean instead of going to and from America?
You're still asking me to
I mean,
verify.
like,
You're
in
still
front of
asking me to.
America. Yeah.
You're doing the same thing that Aardvark did at the beginning of the stream, asking me to explain how the hypothetical thing that hasn't been verified is possible. I'm just not going to do it until it's been verified.
What do you mean by verification? Because if you look at the travel, like the company on the website, they will tell you and they will show you a picture of
One
the
person,
round
right?
Earth,
I'll
because
tell
the
you
Earth is
exactly what I
round,
mean. I'll
that
tell
it
you,
goes from here to
Earth,
there.
chill out. I'll
And
tell
then
you
also, why would that
Earth,
person lie about it? Do you
Earth,
mean to tell
Earth,
me that they're in
Earth.
conjunction with the government to lie to us? I'm
Listen,
just
buddy,
kind of confused.
one thing at a time, bro. For one, I think it's
Okay,
funny
okay.
that it's funny that you think governments would never lie. But the thing is, right?
I don't think
when we're
I
talking
don't
about
think the government would
verification,
never lie.
as
It's
far as
just kind of weird
verification
why they would lie
goes,
about the Earth being
this is
flat.
sounding horrible, man. As far as verification goes, I was clear in the beginning. Somebody filming themselves taking flight, filming a compass, or showing at least maybe even I'd take a digital compass, right? Even though it would be there would be met with more more hesitancy with that than there would be a hardcore mechanical compass. But the compass would verify the direction that the plane is going. It would verify that the person is actually on the plane, that they've been on the plane for as long as the flight is supposedly supposed to take. Then you would also have, because you're adding in the burden of a claim that there is only water beneath the whole entire trip. Now you're adding in that burden to have to film the ground the entire flight as well. So that is how you would empirically verify that what you said is a actual observation.
Okay, so then if the observation is true, what would you say about that?
If the observation is true, then I would say that the plane is probably going faster than you guys think. And how would you prove the speed of the plane?
So
How would I
there's
prove the
something.
speed of the plane? So I would get the distance, and then I would say the time that it took for me to get that distance, because
Distance over what?
speed, distance over time over, is it time over?
Right. So we could
No,
just
I'm not
change-
talking
Distance
about
over
the
time.
equation. I'm saying, like, are you talking about distances over the ocean, distances in the sky? What is your
I'm
distance
talking,
you're referring
let's
to?
say okay, so I'm traveling the distance between I think, yeah, Toronto and Sydney. I think that's what it's called. Toronto and Sydney. I take
Well, then
that
where is?
distance,
How are you
and then
possibly
I
going to
take the
measure
amount
the?
of
Wait,
time.
hold on. How are you possibly going to measure the distance between Toronto and Sydney? You can't verify that. There's no possible way to do that.
You have to presuppose the coordinate system and then presuppose that the measurements are accurate from the globe side.
Bingo.
And then you could then stretch it out with, as Shane was pointing out earlier, in order to get the patents for the map, you have to use the lat-long
So then
coordinate
what's the
system.
distance of the Earth that you think it is? What do you think the distance of the Earth is between?
What does
I
that
guess
matter?
just the length of it.
How's that going
Doesn't
to prove
matter.
the shape? How's what I think
I'm
going to
just
prove the shape?
confused.
Why can't we talk about observable facts and evidence? Why is nobody refuting my Orion being observable all year long, debunking that we're moving around the sun? Is no one going to address that?
Tribune, I had a
Because it's
couple things
bullshit.
that I wanted to say. Well, I had a couple things that I wanted to say. Number one, I would actually love to actually see that you can see this star all year round. If you could show me that, that would be great. Number two, how is the flat Earth magnetic system, or like magnetic, whatever you would call it on your model, where it's magnetic field. How is that different from a flat Earth to a sphere? Because both magnets are or compasses in this instance are pulled towards the North Pole, which is a single point on both models. So on a flat Earth, if you're going around the Earth, quote unquote, like just like going in a circle around the plane, your compass would always point towards the center. And on a globe, you're going around, it would always just point north. It would always point to the point. So how is it different on both models? Because you said like you viewed one and it proved flat Earth, but it disproved the globe.
As far as the direction, to clarify what I meant by that, the way that the compass works on the globe versus the flat Earth is the same. The needle points north, and then you base your directions off of that. So you're correct in that is the same. As far as how did the direction that Max Egan went verify the prediction of the flat Earth, well, that should be obvious. The direction that the plane has to go, as you guys have stated several times, is different from the flat Earth to the globe Earth, right? There's a different path that you take. So that means that the heading would be different, which you could determine based on the direction of the compass. The compass heading showed that it was the flat Earth prediction, not the globe Earth prediction. The explanation for why this happened, not that it wasn't that it didn't happen. The explanation for why it happened was officially that the metal from the plane pulled the compass needle to be inaccurate, so that the compass was actually not showing the true heading, and this just so happened to reflect what would happen on the flat Earth projection.
What exactly would happen on the flat Earth projection?
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I was asking. What I was going to ask is like, your direction is it's not that there's a different route on flat Earth; it's that there's a different route that's the shortest on flat Earth. Because of, as I said, because of the way a sphere works, it gets bigger as you go outward. So the shortest path, the paths get like it's a physically longer path the farther you get from the center.
I'd have to look right at both maps, right at it side by side to tell you specifically. But you can actually go look up the Max Egan flight on YouTube.
I was going to say the direction that he's facing doesn't really change it, because you can fly the same path on both models. It's just the time that it would take. That's the main difference. Like, it's not physically different.
Yeah, but the time it would take argument is based on the misinterpretation of the elongation of the continents and the distances in the south as per being a byproduct of the globe flattened out with the same longitude lat system problem that we started with, right? So you're saying like, oh, this warped out flat globe projection has warped distances. It's like, well, yeah. Well, that's what happens when you take a coordinate system and you flatten it out, right? Like,
my original point is just that any disk, it gets bigger as you go outward. It doesn't matter if it's stretched, if the stretch version of the globe, or if it's your own map that you completely drew 100% you. It still gets bigger as you go outward. Right. It doesn't have to be a projection of a sphere. It does physically get bigger as you go outward on a sphere. That's fact. The circumference of the outside of a sphere is bigger than a circumference of a circle that's smaller. I don't think anyone's disputing that.
No, dude.
So that's my point. It's not the direction that they're going. It's the difference. It's just the distance.
I'm just looking for that globe slam dunk.
What do you mean?
Like, yeah, like if you had to pick, like if you could only bring up one thing, a room full of like flat earthers to convince them and save their souls and bring them back to the globe, what would your best like unrefutable point of evidence or observation be to bring us all back?
To be honest, it would be the stars, because I don't think your explanation satisfied that. Again, I would love to maybe watch one of your streams and see you explain it maybe better, or maybe I'm just misinterpreting it. Either way, that would probably be what I would bring up to most people, because I've never heard a satisfiable answer to that. So if you guys can prove that would work on a flat Earth, then I would probably have to change it. But currently, that's what I would choose.
Yeah, well,
it turns out.
Go ahead, Shane. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, it turns out that they actually convinced most of us that we live on a sphere because of the sky, because of the celestial phenomenon, because they've actually like reverse engineered and bogarted the way that we see and perceive the world. If we see like in the same limit in every direction, they were effectively creating a sphere. And if we see at the outskirts and the peripheral of that sphere, it appears to bend as a limit, as a product of being at the limit of our vision. And then we've told you that you see in perfect orthographic Euclidean 3D space And then actually you see in non-Euclidean curved visual space, but we tell you that you live on a sphere. You see how those two like dangerous things kind of coincide to
I
make
kind
that
of understand what
wonderful
you're saying.
deception.
I'm just saying, even your explanation, it still doesn't really satisfy at least what I'm looking for. Again, maybe I'm misinterpreting it. Maybe it's not the best explanation. Either way, we'll move on. But that would, if you're asking me what I would use, it would be that.
I mean, I clearly brought up the example of Orion being visible all year long. You can pull up Stellarium and verify this yourself in about 5 minutes. And
Okay,
this
yeah,
is
I'm gonna
unexplainable.
probably go and do that after this. Do
What
you
would
have a
your
video of it, or are you just saying that that you can see that on
there's
this
a video
app?
somewhere of it, but assuming that that's true, I mean, what would
Okay.
your response to that be?
If that was true, I'd have to kind of see why you think that makes the globe invalid, and then depending on that, that would probably determine my belief. Yeah.
It would make our position relative to where we are to the sun invalid, because what the position is that we're constantly having our position around the sun changed as we spin around. So we're moving, obviously orbiting the sun as we're spinning
Yeah.
around. So the spinning around causes
Yes.
the day and the night, but our position
Yep.
relative to the sun is going to be our seasons, basically.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
during different
That's the globe
seasons,
model.
obviously during different seasons, if we're on different sides of the sun, different stars should be visible, because it's not going to be the same star is not going to be during that nighttime, right? There's going to be stars that are behind the sun that we're never going to be able to see during that particular time of year. But
Mhm.
again, when we have Orion, which is on the equator, right, and it's important that we use an equatorial constellation, because it's one that you can see from, for one, any part in the world, right? Anybody can do this observation without even stellarium. You can just go outside, find Orion, right? And you will be able to see
Yeah.
that it's present all year long. So you can verify it physically. You can verify it with stellarium, and then if you model it out, I would challenge you, right? How
Yeah.
would you model that out to where it would always be visible equatorially from the equator, right, directly above the equator as we're moving around the
So you're
sun?
saying you're saying it's always visible. So your claim here is if you look if you're on the equator, if you're on any point of the equator, and you look directly upwards, you will always see
So it's direct.
Orion, no
So
matter what season of the year. Is that I'm confirming
correct,
that's what you're
correct.
claiming.
It's directly
Okay.
so the Orion is directly above the equator. It's an equatorial constellation, and that means that you
Okay.
can see it from anywhere on Earth.
I assume you would have an explanation of that for yours.
Well, yeah, it's because we're not
On
moving.
a
We're
photo.
not moving around the sun. The sun is moving above us, so there's no requirement for certain stars to be visible because they're blocked out by the sun because of that nighttime.
Okay. Would Polaris or I'm sorry, not Polaris. Would Orion? What is it hidden by that you're saying that would like make it hidden
What do you
depending
mean?
on the season? Because like you do see certain different stars. I mean, it is true. You see different stars depending on what season is, or at least you see certain different stars. But because the sun is not visually that big from our perspective. So are you saying it's covered by the sun, the moon? Like, what are you?
What? No, what are you talking about? I brought up a specific example that debunks how the stars would be placed in
Well, yes,
relation to the globe
that's what I'm
Earth.
asking you. What
I don't
is
have to replace it.
you're saying that Orion
They're
being visible all
independent.
year is not possible on a globe. What I'm asking you is what makes it impossible? Like what is covering it? If this is true, what is covering it
Light
in one of
pollution.
the seasons
In the
or what
globe, in the
what
globe
should be covering
model,
it?
it was very clear. In the globe model, light pollution from the sun should at some part
Mhm.
of the year be blocking Orion,
Like okay.
right?
So
Because
like
you remember where
so not the physical is it the physical body of the sun or just the light emitted from it?
the light emitted from it.
Okay. I'll look into that.
In other words, it's never nighttime. It would never be nighttime where Orion is, because Orion would be behind the sun, right? Wherever the sun is going to be daytime. So the opposite side of the sun is going to be nighttime. We should be facing away from Orion at some point because it's an equatorial constellation.
Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. So yeah, I'll look into that and I'll see. The people in the chat are saying that it's not visible in the southern hemisphere or south of the equator during summer. So I don't know if you have anything to address that or if that just doesn't matter. But just want to say that.
That is a good observation, Tribune. I'm glad you brought that up. I like that one. I got to do more stuff on that one because that's like a
huge shout
Yeah,
out.
it's definitely an interesting. It's definitely an interesting thing.
Listen, I don't want to take the full credit for it because Brian Leak brought it to my attention. So Huge
Brian
shout out to
Leakey?
Brian. Yep.
Is it Leak or Leaky? I don't want to
I don't know.
mispronounce his name. Our
I
boy,
have
our
no
boy
idea.
Brian. Yeah, dude, he brings forth lots of gravy all the time. But yeah, so that one being visible, wouldn't that? I mean, this is not like debate worthy, but just as a random thought, wouldn't that make the pyramids being aligned to that one constellation a lot more significant all
They're
across the world
Hold on,
if
I'm
they
gonna
knew
debunk
that it
you.
was?
Hold on, Shane. I also got to flat smack you as well. Sorry, my friend, but it actually turns out that the pyramids are not lined up with that constellation. It's just the shaft is lined up with Polaris.
Really?
Yeah, that's actually a misconception. It was theorized based on the movement of the stars, based on the precession of the equinox, that the pyramids lined up with Orion at some point. But again, if you assume that the precession of the equinox is true, which it could be, and Earth still be flat, right? It's not a proof of the globe. I would actually
Well,
say the unsymmetrical movements of the of the poles are proof of that.
Right. Well, I meant like the pyramid, like like the structure, the layout of the pyramid is like two. It's the Giza plateau is like two, and then one off center. And there's like South American pyramids that have the same layout. Maybe it's not the alignment. It's like their layout mimic that constellation, I guess. Right.
Yeah, it could be.
It's just a weird observation. For the ancients definitely knew stuff that we didn't, in our perspective, and definitely in mine. Like we are like the dumbest, most ignorant race generation to ever walk this place. Going back further, we knew more. We were way more in touch. We understood what we were and who we were, where we came from, and what we were doing here. And now we're just so lost.
Yeah, one of my guests said, just to make it super duper simple, nominal shout out says 6 months apart, you are looking in opposite directions in space. Should be simple enough.
Right. Where can you see the same constellation when you're whipping around at 6,600, 6,000 miles an hour and whipping around the galaxy and then changing all these directions? But 6 months around the stellar observation of the sun, you should be seeing entirely different fields of stars, but you see the same constellation. Isn't that weird?
It's almost as if the Earth were flat and everything were circling above us. But what do I know? Just some Joe Blow from Kokomo.
It's almost exactly like that.
Almost.
Do we have anyone else you guys want to bring up? We've been at this for a little while now. We can wrap it up at some point. Aardvark, dude, you've been great, man. Thanks for coming in and
Yeah, you guys have been really
soloing.
respectful. Thanks for listening in. I wish I had a couple more people who were debating with me, but it's fine.
You probably
Well,
would have put them all to
showed
shame,
up.
dude.
Yeah, respect for coming up and doing it. Because nobody else showed up, so we didn't have anyone to talk to, man. And you were
Yeah,
great.
I'm still glad I did it. It was definitely fun, and I think I definitely got like a better understanding of some of your guys' positions. So I'm glad I did it.
At least you didn't just look at like two Not Professor Dave videos or like Google why is Earth not flat and then come at us. Like I respect.
Mhm.
I respect.
Yeah,
you definitely
I've
have
seen a lot of
more than-
arguments that I've seen you guys present explanations for that other like things online have presented, and I didn't really want to bring up something that you guys just immediately knew exactly how it would work on a flat Earth, so that's why I brought some of my own points.
Yeah, I mean, there's very few of those observations where we don't immediately know, but if it's brought up, we'll figure it out. Like that's interesting to me, really. We're not going to be like pretend to know shit I don't and just say a bunch of bullshit because I might get caught. That would be crazy, right? That's a very good likelihood
Yeah, you definitely
someone
don't
would
want to.
call me on my bullshit. So we would confer, we'd figure it out, and then the next time we'd come back and be like, "Hey, here's what we think that is."
Yeah, I don't want to. I've tried to do the same thing. I don't want to make any claims about something that I just don't know an explanation for it. So
You guys want to plug your where they can find you, your channels, your discords?
I don't really have any channels. I have a debate server that I can reference, but
Sure, yeah,
or that
don't
I
post
can
it in the
link.
chat, but you can talk about it.
Let us know when you want us to flat smack your debate server, Sir Aardvark.
You can try. They're very interesting. That's for sure. Wait, Bridge, did you say I could post it or just talk about
No,
it? I didn't.
no, don't post in the chat. Just talk about it and
Okay.
let people
It's
know.
it's literally just called abortion debate. It's a debate about abortion and the legality of it. It's not even mainly abortion, but it's just what we named it. So if you want to talk about abortion or pretty much anything, and this place gets tiring for some reason, then we're always open. It's just called abortion debate.
Gotcha.
You guys
Message
can always
Aardvark
come.
if you want. Message Aardvark if you want to invite to that server.
Yep.
You guys can always come hang out at our hangout, the ADL, the Anti Disinfo League. It's just discord.gg/Anti Disinfo League. Super easy. Come over, hang out. We talk
Is
about
it all one word?
Is it what?
Is it all one word?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the vanity link, so we don't have to link it.
You're also welcome to come to the Troubling Tribune YouTube and Rockfin. We have a stellar show over there and an open panel style where we will have people come up to debate not only the shape of the earth, but also the nature of, man, how do I want to word this? What religion do you think is the most accurate? Would be probably the best way to put it, although not everybody subscribes to a religion. I call it the true fate debate. And I like it because we have a lot of people who subscribe to Christianity and other people that subscribe to like New Age spiritualism and things like that. And it's a great place to come and hash out the ideas and the deeper meanings behind them. But we also like to tackle other topics in the Tribune show that we do every Sunday. So come and check it out. It's a great time.
Awesome. And you could check out my channel on YouTube at @space_audits. The stuff I've been covering lately has been relativity and laser interferometry. And you can find more on those subjects on my channel there.
Sweet.
Also, I just wanted to say before we go, there was someone in the chat who had asked the question, and I just wanted to point you guys towards it for the text channel if you wanted to keep doing it. If you wanted to debate it in a text channel, but
Is it anyone but Brenda?
it is actually. It is not someone. It is not Brenda.
Oh, then I'll look. Let me see.
Yeah, it's someone named Mirage. They asked me to ask you guys the question. So
Can
if
you
you guys
ask
just
them?
wanted to do it, if you guys just wanted to do it after the debate, because I know this debate's finished.
Someone
right
explained by both the North and the South and all areas of the South Pole get sunlight for over 24
I think I know
hours
how to do it.
periods every year. With a flat Earth, some areas of the South Pole will go dark during the Northern Hemisphere's winter. Well, no, the light patterns for solstices and equinox are actually perfectly modeled on the flat Earth, and that's not even really fair for us to claim credit because it's just as we were saying earlier, another transformation equation. We can do it with anything, but it definitely takes the globe light pattern. Actually, it takes the reality of light pattern, forces it onto a globe, and we can also put it on a flattened globe projection if you want to see it. It's super easy. I'll find one, put it in chat, and I'll reply to you, Mirage.
Transformation equations, baby.
We just make it say whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're willing to accept the proposal of the reference frame that you're referring to, then yeah, you sure can.
And that's the problem with predictions. That's why it's not real science. And that's one of the things that Tesla warned about. And that's why I do encourage people when engaging in these kinds of logical discussions to try to seek the scientific, verifiable evidence so that you can develop first principles and go from there.
Hardberg tapped out.
Nice.
Sorry, I'm
Is
still here.
that it then?
There's something randomly playing on my computer, and I couldn't figure out what it was.
Is that the show?
I think
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, we went for assault. Dude, my computer restarted in the middle. I'm gonna have to steal your recording again, Tribune.
I'm sorry, Shane. My power actually went out in the middle of it as well. That's why I DC'd.
No shit, dog. Dude,
Rowland, did you get a tertiary recording?
dog, you're not gonna believe this.
No way.
No way.
Dog, yeah.
Dude, I
Boy,
think
we
I
done fucked up.
I think I upset because I was doing an interview with Bobby from Flat Earth Coffee, and I was talking about Hermeticism. So I think I pissed off Yahweh, and they punished our stream.
Yeah, me by association. What a dick, dude.
Sorry.
Jeez. Well, yeah, dude, my
I
PC
mean-
froze as soon as Outright started to present, and then I lost everything. So half of the streams worked. Rockfin let me continue. Odyssey did it uninterrupted. But no, wait, Rockfin kicked it out. YouTube kicked it out.
Bro.
So now I have 2 streams for this. God damn it.
My computer just didn't let me speak on my PC, it showed on my end that I was speaking perfectly fine, and then no one could hear me, so I felt like I was going crazy. So
Yeah.
Discord is a bundle of joy.
All right,
Yeah.
guys. Well,
Yes.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and head on out of here. I will. Plain Reality, by the way, just so you guys know, for the audience and for anybody still listening, Plain Reality is in Australia, and Orion can in fact be seen all year. So, guys, really wrap that in, take it in, think about what that actually means, and then embrace
Damn.
the facts that you do not live on a world that is whipping through space at 4 different vectors at millions of miles per hour, per second at the worst case of it. And feel grounded.
Yo.
Ruhiv is late.
I
to the
invited him
party.
on as soon as I saw him. Yeah, we're about to end this, but hey, Ruhiv.
Yeah, I know. I've been at 24/7 for a couple of hours.
That's terrible.
What up, Rue? Were you streaming Tetris again?
No, I was at 24/7. One deck invited me to 24/7, so I went there for a couple of hours. It was fun.
Aren't they the best Flat Earthers there? Did you have fun?
Yes, I did.
Cool. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go take off and go head back to our server, hang out in the safety zone of ADL. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll come
Yeah,
join
peace,
you.
guys. It was
Yeah,
fun.
we'll go hang out.
Thanks for inviting us, and hopefully we come back again, do it again.
Hell yeah!
Thanks for having the
Fridge.
discussion.
Thanks,
It was fun.
Aardvark. Thanks, everyone.
If anybody wants to hear an absolutely kick-ass outro, I'm about to play it for the folks over on YouTube and Rockfin. Thanks for having us. It has been a blast. If you guys, anybody is planning to make it to Flattoberfest, then you can hit my GoFundMe that has been set up. Link is in the YouTube. Love you guys. Peace. And we are out of there, guys. Let's go ahead and get back over to our home over in OBS Studio. What an awesome show. Huge shout out from Shay with the donation. We appreciate that. Lots of love. Just discovered your show after the debate you did with Weiss. I'm digging it. Awesome. We appreciate the love. That is awesome. We are actually doing another show with David Weiss with none other than the one, the only Joel, Space Lover Joel. That's right. The reoccurring theme has come back for a sequel, and we are going to have an awesome conversation. That is going to be next Friday, I believe. Next Friday or Saturday. I can't remember. I'll check my calendar here and get back to you guys on it, but stay tuned for that. That's going to be absolutely sick. We are also going to have be moderating a debate for Jim Waterworld. Got a lot of fans here in this audience. He's going to be debating another professor. It's going to be awesome. Hopefully somebody with some credentials and not just a fake degree mill doctorate, right? But yeah, let's go ahead and just do a super brief shout out as I play you guys out here in just a moment. So we'll start with the Rockfin. Much love, guys. All the support for the legends over there. Is this thing not live? What the heck? Why would it not be live? Should have been live this whole time. Whoopsie daisy. Solid. Keep it up. Whoops. Shout out to Shay, Jeremy Bird, Setneg, RG, Benny Boy, Shifty Eye, Shady, Cave In, No Longer on the Ball, Shane St. Pierre, Robert Hunt. No flat Earth model can predict lunar and solar eclipses. Yeah, right, bro. Come back on the next open panel. Odin's Doder. Nice. Andrew B. All right, guys, let's go ahead and move on over to the YouTube. We appreciate you guys. We got QTA, Creature, Flatman X. What's up? Man, I missed your show, didn't I? Or have you not started it yet? Who knows? Mario C, Mad Mac, Brian Lee, thanks for the support, my friend, with the information. Space Miner, 1 Neo, Mario C, called you out again. You got 2 out of me. Good for you, buddy. TJ Trusty, much love to Jeremy Bird. Folks, go and smash that GoFundMe, and I will see you at Flattoberfest. And if you're not going to be there and you just want to support the channel, then hey, there's lots of ways to do it. Rockfin is the best way, but Cash App is a close second, right? Cash App is awesome. They don't take anything, and it's instantaneous. So much love there, guys. And if you guys want some sick merch to rep the Tribune Show, the True Earth Debates, and the Flat Life Line, then go check out the Etsy store. It is in the description. Awesome. We got Nominal. We got Lee B. We got lots of people. Pacu McCleaver. All right. If I missed you, I'm sorry. I can't possibly shout out. Oh, I'm going to shout out Nuba and Admiral Bird, of course. And Mario C. and Nick and Benny Boy. Why the heck not? You guys are legends. I'm kind of blowed that it didn't get over to the YouTube or to the Rockfin all the way. That is a bummer. I thought it was live. Said it was live. What can you do, though? So, without further ado, I guess we can go ahead and close out the show. Appreciate you guys. We will see you tomorrow. No, we won't. Father's Day. Peace.